Previously on the Apollo Cinematic Universe. A group of friends mysteriously wake up in an unknown and dangerous world full of deadly creatures and mobs. The only goal they have is to survive 1 year in this deadly world, and after some time, members from the group start to get picked off. After an expedition from Apollo and just Jay here, the two of them never return, leaving only Ethan and Zach to survive. With days going by, a fungus begins to grow around the world, consuming the base they live on. They escape the fungus, but unfortunately, Ethan dies, leaving only Zach. In an attempt to meet his friends, he believes making an aether portal could be his salvation. He makes the portal and escapes through the aether, meeting his friends on the other side. In another universe, a similar group of survivors all wake up in a medieval world. They are the first people of this world, and they decide to build a medieval civilization. Surviving the first couple nights, the group eventually travel throughout this breathtaking landscape and set up their first plot of land. Apollo is starting to act strange, eager to elect a king for this civilization. Suddenly, another portal appears, and with it, a darkness that attempts to kill the survivors of this world. With this darkness growing, the group split up, which leads to the death of Shakuti. Devastated by this death, Apollo takes it upon himself to become the new councilman of the town. Wisp and Zach, though, see through his facade and distance themselves from the group. Not before too long, Apollo is growing mad, becoming obsessed with becoming the king of this civilization. After a very weird election, he is elected as king. He then attempts to kill Zach, failing. Wisp and Zach leave and try to figure out a way to deal with Apollo. While doing so, Apollo goes to other towns, burning them down if they don't join him and his civilization. This leads to a confrontation where Apollo accidentally kills Frisk for defying him. Apollo then gets distracted by resources and is killed by Zach. The group doesn't know what to do anymore, with the darkness still present. They find a book and a way to make a time machine from it, and getting the resources needed, build this time machine. Jay dies by the darkness, leaving only Wisp and Zach to travel back in time and to hopefully change the past and prevent everyone from dying. Meanwhile, in a parallel universe similar to the group of survivors from before, with the addition of a Scottish man named Lucas, they have a similar goal of building a medieval civilization within 1 year. Suddenly, Zach and Wisp from the other universe fall from the sky and enter this new universe. Here, they get to know the new version of their friends and help them build out this civilization. The darkness, though, has returned, the same one from before. After spending the year building the civilization, they complete their goal. Unfortunately, though, the darkness has only grown more severe. Apollo receives a vision about this darkness destroying his world and tells the group that they must travel to this darkness and defeat it themselves. Traveling to the end, they find the heart of the darkness, the Ender Dragon. Together, the group defeats the Ender Dragon, but not all of them survive, leaving Fisherman Apollo, Frisk, and Scottish Lucas as the only survivors. While this is going on, we are introduced to another and very important version of Apollo, Scientist Apollo. This version has trapped Narfi, Jay, and Mariah with their greatest fears. Running his tests on them, none of them make it out alive. Scientist Apollo tells the audience that he has many more tests to run, and that he does. Because after the events of Medieval, we catch back up with Scientist Apollo, who has trapped a bunch of YouTubers in a containment zone. They are tasked with surviving in this containment zone for 7 days. While there, they discover the past research team's corpses, otherwise known as Apollo's B-Bots. With the B-Bots all over the place, they meet the sole survivor named B13. This damaged robot helps the survivors through this situation, as the virus in this containment zone only grows. In the end, B13 turns out to be infected by the virus and turns into a giant creature. The survivors kill this creature and complete Scientist Apollo's tests. Unfortunately for them, though, he puts them back to sleep. In another universe, we meet Apollo, Jay, Ethan, Frisk, and Lucas, the last 5 survivors of a winter apocalypse. This world takes place within Greek and Norse mythology, where the events of Ragnarok have just taken place, and a world-ending storm is consuming the planet. The last hope of the 5 survivors is to make a spaceship and escape the planet. It turns out that Apollo was the one who caused this to happen. Not only that, but Lucas is also a serial killer. Frisk and Jay are siblings in this universe as well, who watched their parents die and were tasked with taking care of each other. Once they find out about Apollo's past, Lucas attempts to kill the group, successfully killing Ethan. Frisk and Jay kill Lucas just as the storm is arriving. With little to no time left, Apollo distracts the storm whilst the two try and get away. With only one rocket though, Frisk sacrifices themselves for Jay, who escapes the planet, leaving Frisk and Apollo to die. After this, we cut to another universe where Apollo is the head of a news crew. This news team is tasked with getting the story of an entire continent that has gone dark. It turns out that aliens have invaded the planet and started taking over everything. Attempting to get the story, Apollo sacrifices himself to save his news crew. The rest of them barely escape on a boat to never be seen again. Meanwhile, on another universe, we are introduced to the Apollo space fleet. This space fleet is controlled by Commander Apollo, with a son named Sergeant Apollo. In this story, Sergeant Apollo is tasked with responding to a distress call from a desert civilization. Along with two archaeologists and a potion/pyro expert, they meet the people of this planet. A prophecy tells of one of the people coming to this planet and ruling over it. But this information makes Frisk and Zack, the two locals of this planet, furious. Not wanting anyone other than themselves to rule this planet, they kill their leader Shaq, and then tell the rest to leave. They are then told that Wisp is destined to be the leader of this planet. Apollo is convinced he must fulfill this prophecy, leading to a fight between the two groups. Apollo dies, and Wisp calls off the fight, saying this isn't their battle. The prophecy is left unfulfilled, and the Apollo space fleet leave. In the end, 1 year later, Apollo wakes up to a planet on fire, unknowing to what has happened. Then, in another more apocalyptic universe, Apollo crash lands his plane into what is now a wasteland. His one task is to find a research station that holds the cure for the virus that infected this world. Along the way, he meets a survivor named Frisk and others. They come across a sniper, cannibals, and an interdimensional bear named Lloyd. Along this journey, many from the group die, leaving Exodus, Apollo, and Frisk to find the research station. There, they find it abandoned, with a videotape left behind by Zack telling them that there is no cure. Exodus decides the only thing left to do is to destroy the world and end all pain. Apollo stops him, and both him and Frisk escape, attempting to survive the wasteland together. Sometime later, we meet another Apollo within another universe, this one much more unknown. This Apollo is Modder Apollo, a version of Apollo that makes YouTube videos. He is seemingly trapped in an underground trial chambers, where he must defeat the deadliest player. Going through some chambers, he eventually defeats the deadliest player who mistakes him for being Sergeant Apollo from the Apollo space fleet. The deadliest player is wrong and dies. A new portal appears and Apollo is left with only one option to go through. Meanwhile, in another universe, we meet Apollo, Exodus, Derp, and Ghostly, who are tasked with repairing Yellowstone National Park. Being the park rangers, they survive this wilderness for 1 year, but along the way, a deadly unknown corruption starts spreading. This corruption is titled as the Skulk, a blue material that begins to spread throughout the park. The four rangers find the origin of the Skulk and blow it up, stopping the spread of the Skulk from going any further, and finally reviving the park. After these events, we meet up with a group of survivors on an island after their plane has crashed. This follows new versions of Apollo and the friend group, along with new characters like Is Kevin and Crag Dinah. On this island though is an evolving creature that attempts to pick them all off one by one. After surviving several days there, Apollo reveals himself to actually be Scientist Apollo, whilst also revealing this entire scenario is another test. Everyone dies with the exception of Crag and Kevin, who are put back to sleep by Apollo. We catch up with the Scientist Apollo, who is now the manager of a cosmic hotel. This hotel is a living, breathing hotel, but is unfortunately dying. He tasks Narfi, Mogswamp, Forge Labs, Speed Silver, Dr. Rat, and Protagonist with going to the heart of the hotel and repairing it. Along their journey, they uncover a deadly mystery, with one of them being an unknown murderer. Forge and Mogswamp eventually make it to the heart of the hotel, which is revealed to be the heart of the YouTube channel itself. They repair the channel, and the hotel is also saved. Unfortunately, Forge Labs dies in the process, and Mogswamp is the last one left alive. He goes to the final floor, revealed to be his office, as he was the murderer the whole time. After this, Scientist Apollo puts him back to sleep. We then catch up with another group in another universe. This group is a band of thieves captured by pillagers within a pillager government. The group work together to escape this island, meeting leaders of the pillager government along the way. In one of the towers, they discover a room full of Skulk being observed. How curious. They eventually find out of a plan for the villagers to escape the island. After killing the Pillager King, Apollo and the group go to protect all the villagers, with Apollo sacrificing himself. Back with the Apollo space fleet, we get to know Commander Apollo a little better, as he has imprisoned a small group inside the Nether. The Nether has become overrun by a tyrannical king who they must kill in order to escape this prison. Sneak, Derp, Frisk, and Jay travel the Nether, getting to know each other and the crimes they've committed. In the end, Jay betrays them and causes Derp and Frisk to die, leaving only Sneak to defeat the king. In a brutal battle, Sneak defeats him and then teleports back to the Apollo space fleet, where Commander Apollo indoctrinates him as a new soldier. We then catch up with Scientist Apollo, who has walled in an old town that has been tormented by an unknown monster, hidden deep within the town. He tasks a new group of YouTubers with becoming bounty hunters for the town and finding this monster. The YouTubers traverse the old town attempting to find the creature. Along the way, B13 comes back after going through surgery and being fully repaired. After many twists and turns, the bounty hunting teams work together to kill the monster that lies underneath the town. They kill the monster, but only one team is allowed to bring its head. They battle each other, leaving only one team alive. They deliver the head to Apollo and then are put back to sleep. B13 also delivers samples to Apollo, samples of Skulk that were found in the catacombs of the creature. Apollo makes a comment that the Skulk is spreading, but he doesn't know why. Meanwhile, we catch back up with Commander Apollo and the Apollo space fleet, who is in charge of ending a war on a planet he owns. He tasks Lucas from the Desert Expedition, Alexis, Ghostly, and Joe with entering this planet and finding a location Joe is connected to. Lucas is quite timid around Commander Apollo, as Apollo tells him he must redeem himself after failing his last mission on the desert planet. He also reveals that he has Wisp captured and in cryosleep. The group traverses through the war-torn planet, barely surviving the horrific acts of war. Eventually, the four of them make it to an underground bunker that Joe vaguely recognizes. Inside is a virus that Commander Apollo wants them to unleash onto the planet to wipe everyone out. That way, he can rebuild on the planet with an Apollo resort. Joe and Lucas refuse, but Alexis and Ghostly follow orders, starting the virus. All four of them then barely escape the planet alive, with Lucas determined to save Wisp. After the traumatic events of this war, we meet a group of knights in another universe. This group are the last standing knights, who must save their world from dying from a deadly infection. They must find a creature in another dimension that holds a wish. They traverse the dying world and then find this dimension. In the dimension, they also find an orb that shows Apollo voices from throughout the multiverse. They defeat the creature and get the wish, but not before Apollo is captured by the infection spreading in the world. Using the orb though, he escapes the clutches of the creature and travels throughout the multiverse, revisiting old versions of himself where he had died. Using the wish, he finally wishes for his world to return back to normal and escapes the entity. Back home, the group of knights successfully restore their world. Finally, we catch back up with another universe, the medieval universe, where we get to see what Fisherman Apollo, Scottish Lucas, and Frisk have been up to. It's the year anniversary of them creating the civilization. Apollo finds Skulk growing on the surface, and eventually finds a whole bunch of it growing underground. The Skulk activates and starts spreading everywhere in the city, with creatures growing from it. The Skulk tells Apollo that it's there to spread, and specifically to every universe. Apollo is somehow involved in this, but it isn't revealed how. But in order for them to stop it, he offers himself up. Before he can do so, the Skulk kill Frisk. As Frisk dies in Lucas's arms, Apollo is consumed by the Skulk. The civilization is left alone, but so is Lucas, the last survivor of that universe. And just like that, you are now caught up with the Apollo Cinematic Universe, where the Skulk still poses an unknown threat to this Minecraft multiverse, along with the unknown wants of Scientist Apollo, and Commander Apollo's rule over everything. Who's gonna stop them? Let's find out together.